Hi, today we're in Washington, D.C. to meet one of the world's most outstanding lawyers. Join me in finding out why her contribution is so unique.
Layli may be the single most amazing person I have ever known.
و خانم لیلی یگانه خانم با احساس و با عاطفه قوی بود.
She is never tired.
It's incredible.
Layli Miller is an accomplished lawyer who takes on pro bono cases to help protect women's rights.
Of the world's 1 billion illiterate adults, 2/3 of them are women. In the United States, 1 out of every 5 women have been raped.
When you're a victim, you think no one listens to you. Honestly.
When Layli was still a student, she took on her first case. It soon became the national headline.
Fauzia Kazinga fled her native Togo in West Africa on her wedding day. That morning, the 17-year-old had been forcibly married to a much older man with 3 other wives. That afternoon, she says she would have been forced to undergo female genital mutilation, a dangerous, painful, and irreversible procedure.
Fauzia Kazinga says she fled Togo in 1994 to avoid female circumcision. She was detained for 16 months after a judge said the procedure wasn't persecution because it wasn't directed solely at her.
Instead of asylum, however, she was jailed.
We were losing Fauzia's case. She was languishing in prison without any apparent relief until she landed on the front page of the New York Times. When she ended up on the front page of the New York Times, our world changed because important people read the New York Times. And so we began getting phone calls from people like Steven Spielberg, Lauren Hutton, Hillary Clinton, Sally Fields, and other people who read the New York Times and were very upset by the treatment of Fauzia. And so it was really only with the media attention that was given to her case and to her suffering that resulted in true justice.
After initially rejecting her asylum claim, the INS now plans to use her case to set a precedent for all women who claim that genital mutilation is a form of persecution.
We think that here it's clearly appropriate to provide protection to certain people who are facing this kind of a risk. That's part of what our asylum institution should be there for.
After spending more than a year in U.S. jails, 19-year-old Fauzia Kazinga hopes immigration officials will grant her asylum in the United States after turning her down twice before. Just last week, officials bowed to public pressure and released her from detention in Pennsylvania. She says she fled West Africa to escape the common tribal custom of female genital mutilation.
Because of the widespread media attention in her case, there was commercial interest in her story and my assistance of her. And so Random House, then Bantam Doubleday Dal, purchased the rights to her story, and a book was published in 1998 about her saga of trying to receive justice. The book was translated into 14 languages, and it became a bestseller in the United Kingdom, in Japan, and in Germany. As a result of the book being sold, there was some money, and I was able to use my portion of the proceeds of the book to create the Tahirih Justice Center.
A lawyer of Layli's caliber could choose to pursue and create great wealth. So why does she decide to help those who have no means to pay legal fees?
I think it's their heart. It's their big heart.
این میتونه که امروز یک بزنس وومن قوی باشه، یک تاجر بسیار قوی توانا باشه، پول بسیار در بیاره، اما یک احساس خداوندی، یک احساس است که الهام گرفته از جانب خداوند. من فکر میکنم یک ابا و یک دینار، یک پنی و یک روپیه و یک دلار ما به این ارگانیزیشن ندادیم.
Layli and her team not only help women with their individual cases, but continue to influence and affect change in governmental policy.
I think without the ultimate belief that things are getting better and that we will have justice ultimately, it would be harder to do it.
There are some people who are just born with a passion for justice, and I think Layli is one of them. But that, I think, is bolstered with her by her belief in the Baha'i faith, which is a religion of hope.
In addition to family, the Baha'i faith is incredibly important to me. It gives me a lot of spiritual energy and inspiration. Baha'is who believe that Christ was the Son of God, we believe that Muhammad was the seal of the prophets, now believe that Baha'u'llah is the manifestation of God for this day. And so he affirmed and reiterated the spiritual messages of all religions in the past. But he also brought new social laws and teachings that apply to today. And one of those is the equality of women and men. In the Baha'i writings, there is the imagery of a bird which has two wings. The bird is the bird of civilization, representing society. And one wing is the male, and one wing is the female. And we are all handicapped. We are all unable to soar to our fullest potential, so long as both wings are not equally strong.
You cannot replace one with the other, but they need to have, the bird needs to have both wings.
So who is this Persian heroine by the name of Tahirih who inspires American women?
Tahirih was a very, very important figure in Middle Eastern history, and for that matter, in global history. She was known during her time for being very beautiful, for being an amazing poet, for being an accomplished theologian. During one conference that was being held in Persia, she publicly removed her veil. It was the first time in recorded Middle Eastern history that a woman had removed her veil. It was before an assemblage of men, and the act was considered so shocking at the time that a man who was in the audience stood up and he slit his own throat at the sight of her because it was considered so dishonorable to look at her face.
To paraphrase what Tahirih herself once said, you can slow progress, you can delay justice, you can seek to end the lives of those who make change, but you cannot stop the emancipation of women.
She was eventually executed for her beliefs.
For the organization as a whole, she's just kind of a guide star as to what one woman or one person can do and how much change they can create in the world if they really decide to. I just hope that no one else has to do it at such a huge personal sacrifice as Tahirih did.
Her last recorded words before she died were, "You can kill me as soon as you like, but you will never stop the emancipation of women."
Although Layli is inspired by Tahirih, she's still an all-American girl. So why does she have a Middle Eastern name?
Layli Sitareh is my full name. And I got that name because my parents are Baha'is, and they read in the Baha'i writings the story of Layli and Majnun, a very famous Persian poem. And they were very inspired by the story, and they wanted to give me that name. Personally, I think Persian food is the best food in the world, and I cook it, and most people are kind of surprised. I make fesanjun and gormazabzi and a number of other things, and I'm told it's pretty good. I don't know, but but I really love Persian food.
Layli is really incredible. I was privileged enough to speak to a few of the women she represents. Thanks to the Tahirih Justice Center, their lives have been transformed.
هر زمانی که ما میخوایم در مورد طاهری جستیس سنتر گپ بزنیم گریه مرا اجازه نمیده.
All I can do is to say thank you to Tahirih. They saved my life. They're a lifesaver.
هر نفسی که میکشیم به طاهری جستیس سنتر دعا میکنیم. هر دقیقه، هر روز، هر لحظه.
Now my daughter goes to a daycare and I have a job and I even have transportation. And I got that in less than 2 months. I know it's been a year and a half, but this have been the best 2 months ever. And all because of Tahirih.
If you're interested in finding out more about the Tahirih Justice Center, visit their website at www.tahirih.org. Thanks for watching.
I think that the equality of women and men is one of the hardest things to achieve, in part because we don't know what it looks like.
I believe that change is going to come to Africa, to Middle East, and every other place on earth that turns a blind eye to injustice.
Ideally, I would like a world for the Tahirih Justice Center to not exist. A world where, why would we have to work for equality? We should have it.